Everyone, I am going to be going over how to create, manipulate, and just work with body copy. So in this video, we're just going to be we're going to be in InDesign and we're going to be working with body copy. Now, if you're not sure what body copy is the main text in your layout. It's all the paragraphs. The paragraphs people are meant to read. So not the title, the pull quote. We're talking about specifically the paragraphs, the pull quotes that are actually in the paragraphs too, but it's that main content that we really want our viewers to read. When we think about magazines and newspapers, brochures, right? It's those paragraphs that we want our viewers to sit there and really comb through. And the way that or I shouldn't say the way, but they will sit there and read it if it is designed well, if it is easy to read and easy to understand, and if you are applying the house principles. And as a reminder, those house principles are hierarchy, alignment, unity, and space. So we need to make sure that we are applying all of those when we are laying out our body copy to increase the overall readability and legibility of our designs when we are manipulating and working with body copy, especially when there's large amounts of body copy. Again, think about a magazine where you're flipping from page to page, looking at different articles. There's going to be a lot to read. There's going to be a lot of body copy. So we need to make sure that we're going to work with that body copy in a way that's going to increase the overall readability and legibility for our users. So in today's video, as we go over body copy, we're going to look at grids and baseline grids. We're going to create a text box. I'm going to show you how to incorporate placeholder text, which is super beneficial when you're not sure of maybe the text that you might be working with. I know in my personal experience, I've been tasked with creating newsletters, and sometimes the person writing the stories isn't always finished, but I still need to start getting a design together. So I'll use placeholder text to just sit there until I get the text that I actually need to use. So I'm going to show you guys how to use that. We're going to choose some typefaces and fonts, or type fonts, and I'm going to show you sizing. Something to remember though is that it's important to max out at 1 to 2 fonts. Don't use any more than that. That can get overcomplicated. We're also going to look at some typesetting in terms of the leading, the alignment, not using hyphenations, and I'll get into that more. And then I'll show you how to create paragraph styles, which is just going to overall going to just make your design, the actual process of creating design, a little bit better. So first up, let's create our new document. So this is the text I'll most likely be working with today, but I want to show you guys how to actually create that new document first. So we're in InDesign, we're going to go to File, New Document. Now notice that all of it's in picas. I'm actually going to switch the units to inches. For me personally, as a designer, it's just easy for me to kind of wrap my head around inches because that's what I'm used to using in my everyday life. So I'm going to change it to inches, and I'm going to actually use a standard page size, which is 8.5 by 11. So anytime you've been handed any type of document, right, in school, when they give you papers of homework, all of that is a standard 8.5 by 11. It's going to be a standard size that you are going to use a lot. Something to note about InDesign though is that if you're not sure on which page sizes, they do have print where it'll give you those page sizes. It automatically defaults to picas, but you can always change it to inches just if that's what you want to work in, or points. A lot of designers like to work in points. I personally like to work in inches, so that's what I'm going to do. From there, I'm going to just work with one page for now. I will show you how to work with multiple pages, but right now we're going to work with one page, and we're actually going to turn off facing pages, and I'll let you know what that means. And we'll go into that more when we turn that back on later. And then the columns, I want to work with 2 columns, and I'm going to work with 2 columns. You're going to see what that looks like, but I'm going to do that just so that I can start laying out where my body copy is going to go, even before I actually place it into the design. My margins, just keep it at 0.5. That's a really great base for that. And then my bleed. So bleed is basically where if your design is going to go off the page, so that when it gets printed, they'll actually cut it down so that the imagery, the colors, whatever it is, goes to the very edge of the page. I'm not going to do that in this video just because we're just going to be working with body copy and all of that's going to stay within the confines of the page. It's not going to get cut off, so I'm not going to touch that today. But just know that you would set that up so that if you did want something to go over the edge of the page, you know kind of how big to create it so that when it does get sent to the printer and get cut down, you don't have a weird white border. Everything goes to the very edge of the page. So from there, I'm going to hit create. And here is my new untitled document. I could have named it. I decided not to for this just because I really want to focus on that body copy. But notice that I automatically have my two columns. This is a really great start because I want to make sure that, you know, I'm already kind of laying out my design and I'm kind of getting myself organized before I actually head into the designing process. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a grid. So to do that, you're going to go over to view right here at the top. You're going to scroll down to grids and guides, and you are going to select show baseline grid. And you're going to click that and all these little lines are going to pop up. That is your baseline grid. That is where you're going to start manipulating and placing your text so that it fits within each one of those lines so that you have increased consistency throughout. And when you work with these types of grids, it really does help the overall flow and rhythm of the text so that your viewer can just flow through it and read through it a little easier. It increases the overall legibility and the legibility and the readability. Something else that I want to do is I actually want to open up my paragraph window. That's going to help us a lot. So I'm going to go over here to window and I am going to open up paragraphs, and it's actually going to be under types and tables, paragraph. And that is going to open that up. That's going to be super helpful. So I'm just going to put that in here so that I can reference it later. Oops. We're going to go over paragraph styles as well. Let's see. So right here, right now my paragraph automatically, not my paragraph, my document automatically had set to do not align to baseline grid. I want my text to align to baseline grid, so I'm just going to check that other box here that looks like all the lines that are nicely lined up. And it's going to say when you hover over it, it's going to say aligned to baseline grid. Now, from there, I'm going to add in my text box. So I'm going to go over here to my text tool. Again, what's nice about Adobe in general, but in InDesign specifically, because we're here, when you hover over each tool, it tells you what that tool is. If you were working in Photoshop or Illustrator, if you hover, it also sometimes gives you an actual image, a little GIF actually plays to show you what that tool does. So that's kind of super helpful, especially as you're getting used to using these types of programs. So I'm going to use my text tool, and I'm actually just going to create my text box. And something that I want you to know is that I am creating it to actually not fill the whole space, but to fill my column that I have here. And then I might want to go and add text. Now I'm going to go over to here, my other document where I had some text in there, and I'm going to start highlighting. Sorry, it's actually locked. Spread. There you go. Now I can start selecting my text. Now, you might be working with a Word document, something, you know, somebody may have texted you, right, information. Wherever it is that you're getting your text from, you just copy. So all I did was, you can select it all. You can right click, hit copy, file, or I'm sorry, edit, copy, or you can simply just hit, and what's nice too is that when you go in here, it'll tell you what the keyboard commands are. So I actually selected this and I hit Command C to select it and copy it. And then I'm going to go in to my document. I'm going to select where I want to put it. And then I'm going to hit Command V, which is paste, or I could have right clicked and hit paste. I could have went up to edit and paste as well. So those are just a few ways that you can get all that information in there. Obviously, if you wanted to select more, you can select more. and select everything in the text box. I hit Command A on my keyboard. Command A will select everything. Command C copies it. Go over to my new document. Command A to select everything. Command V to paste it. And now I have all of my text here. I'm actually going to get rid of that. Here in my document, I do need to adjust this a little bit more. There you go. I just wanted to make sure it snaps to my grid, which again, I'm selected inside of my text box, or my text box is just selected. And I went over here to my paragraphs and I made sure align to baseline grid was selected. And this is obviously very spaced out. So I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna start editing that. So I want to just close that up a little bit, and I'm going to do that from my letting in my I'm in my properties panel. Or my character panel. You can also go there, paragraph, right? You have all these available to you. Mine automatically show up in my properties. That's how I like to work. But if you want to work individually, you can always go up to Window, types and tables, and you can open up the character panel itself and use it like that. I'm going to just keep using my properties panel. And then once you select everything, you can obviously change the fonts, change the size, and start changing the leading. And again, the tracking and the kerning, and if you hover over everything, it'll tell you what that does. With the font, again, it's really important that you choose a font that is easy to read and easy to understand, but then also fits within I guess, the theme of whatever you are designing. So I'm just going to pick Avenir just because for me, that's a really solid font where it's easy to read and easy to understand. Okay, now that we have our text in place, our leading and our kerning, we could definitely go into doing that. There's definitely some extra spaces you might see. So that's going to be something important you might want to consider when you are laying out your text, is that you're going to have to notice these small details when there might be an extra space that shouldn't be there. So the next thing that we are going to do is we are going to look at this text box. So if you notice, not all of the text that I copied over is in the text box itself. So you'll notice that there is an error at the bottom of the screen. And also when I select the text box, there is a red box with a plus sign in it. That tells me that there is some text that's not visible. Now, some may say, oh, just create another text box and I'll copy the rest into that text box. You can definitely do that, but then you're going to have to edit each individual text box, and that could take a long time, especially when you are working with a lot of body copy. So something that I do that makes this all easier is by creating a text box that is linked to your other text box so that you can edit everything at the same time. And I'm gonna show you what that means. I am in my selection tool with my text box selected. I'm actually going to click right onto this red box with the red plus sign. I'm actually going to click that. Notice that when I click that, my cursor changed. Not only is it a smaller arrow, but you also see a little bit of a preview of some of the text that isn't visible because it doesn't fit all into the original text box that I created. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just click and drag where I want to create a new text box. So I'm actually going to fill this section of the um, of the column that I had created earlier. And for right now, there's only one word, right? I might want to add a lot more to this, but I just don't have any more text to add. That's okay. This is where some of that placeholder text is going to come into play that I'm going to show you. But if you were working with, other body copy, you would just go into whatever the document is that you're working with, whether it's a Word doc, a Google Doc, an email, whatever it is, a PDF, whatever it is, copy the rest of that, paste it in here. I don't have any more, so I'm actually going to use placeholder text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get to a place where I actually want my placeholder text to go. And then I'm just actually going to right click And I'm going to go down here and it's going to say fill with placeholder text. I'm going to click that and it will now fill the space with placeholder text. Yes, this is placeholder text. You're not meant to understand it. It's like a combination of like just gibberish and Latin to make up some placeholder, just so that you can have some things in there. From there, you can go and definitely edit this text so that it fits better into maybe the overall aesthetic that you are going for, just so that you have something to work off of, so that when you are ready to put in the actual text that you need to use, you'll be able to do that. Now, I'm just going to get actually rid of some of this because I don't need all of it. Now, something that I wanted to show you is the fact that both of these text boxes are linked together. So what that means is if I do anything to the one on the right, it's going to manipulate the one on the, I'm sorry, if I do anything to the one on the left, it's going to manipulate the one on the right. So notice that I made this text box smaller, so more of the text that was in here is now pushed over here. That is super helpful when you're working with imagery or any type of graphics you might want to put in there so that you don't lose, right, some of that formatting that you've already created within each text box. So mine, I'm actually going to bring mine down just a little bit, just because I'm going to be making sure that I have enough room for maybe a title. So again, if you want to see what this looks like without all the grids and everything, you could just hit the letter W on your keyboard and all of the grids and all the guidelines, all of that will disappear, and you can get more of a print preview to see kind of what it would look like to give you a better idea of anything that you might need to adjust. Now I am going to hit W again on my keyboard and it's going to show me all of my um, grid lines and guidelines and things like that. Something that I also want to note is the fact that we don't like hyphenations. If you have had them before in the past, um, my name is Ashley Killen. If you had me as a instructor, you know, and you've probably heard me say we don't like hyphenations. So to make sure that you don't have any hyphenations, you want to select everything in your text boxes. When you and notice that when I hit Command A and I selected everything, it selected both text boxes. So all the text in both boxes. And then I'm going to go over to paragraph style and I'm going to make sure that hyphenate is not checked. And it's not. If it was checked, then you're going to see words being pushed off, or actually not pushed off, but separated. So for instance, right here, notice that conversation is now cut off and there is a hyphenation. When you include those types of things in your body copy, it actually can be a distraction that could take away from the overall readability and legibility of your body copy. And it honestly breaks up the overall rhythm and flow of the text as well. So that's why it's important to get rid of that. So I'm going to select all again. That's Command A on my keyboard. And I'm going to go over here to my paragraph panel and I'm going to uncheck hyphenate and notice that it all shifted. Now, my text is actually pretty big. I'm actually going to lower it. 9 is basically the smallest text that the 9 points is like the smallest size of text where it's still easy to read. So I'm going to have it around, I think, a 10. Maybe I'll do a 9.5. This is a lot of text I have here. And it'll give me more room to play with when it comes to the spacing between each paragraph. Now, when I zoom out of it and I hit W, you notice there's a little bit more breathing room between each line of text, so it doesn't feel so compact. Something else to note is orphans and widows. We don't like when single words hang off the edge, whether it's hanging off the edge of the actual side of paragraphs or if it's hanging off the bottom here of each paragraph or down below at the end of a column. We want to get rid of that as much as possible. And honestly, it might just be as simple as um, changing the size of your text box so that more can fit in a single line. You might actually need to go through and actually manually move down text to a single line so that it fills everything a little bit better. So that's going to just be how you choose to work with the text itself. But know that those words that kind of hang off the edge or all by themselves down there, at the end of a paragraph or end of the column, those can also be a distraction. Again, we want to make sure that the text is always easy to read, easy to understand, and it flows nicely and has rhythm. We don't want anything abrupt that could be a distraction to the rest of the design. Now I have created my text boxes. I'm actually I'll add in here a title really quickly. Now this isn't a part of the body copy because this is a title. So I just want to make sure I say that. Increase the size of that. Just make it 30. This is pretty high up. Let me go back to my preview mode. Let me bring it down so there's enough spacing between the text and the paragraphs. And again, you want to make sure that you're not ending, a paragraph in the middle with only one line viewing. That's a part of typesetting. So I'm just going to adjust some where this spacing is just so that we can fill that a little bit better. And I also want to make sure too, I'm going to actually close up this text box a little bit more as well, so that again, everything kind of fits in a little bit more evenly. I probably can come up a little bit more just to get this a little bit more even. It's good. And then from there too, because of my grids, right, because of the grid lines that I have, that'll definitely help with creating any other graphical elements. I'm going to include. And notice here, I know I was adjusting for some of those widows and things, so I just might want to do that a little bit more. And this could be somewhat tedious, but once you get everything in the right place, you won't have to constantly do this over and over again because we are going to go into creating paragraph styles, which would make all of this a whole lot easier. And I'm just going to show you what this looks like. My preview mode. And notice that everything is flowing nicely. It's a little cleaner in the sense that there's enough space, below everything. All right, now let's create some paragraph styles. This is what's going to help you going forward to make sure that anytime you create a paragraph, create a column, whatever it is, you're going to be able to kind of replicate some of those choices, some of those design choices you've already made, like the size, the leading, the font, right? All those different typesetting things that you've put into place, you can replicate that going forward. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to select everything. I'm going to open up my paragraph style window. Styles, paragraph styles. I'm going to Command A. That's going to automatically select everything that I have in my text boxes. And then I'm going to go over to my paragraph styles panel, and I'm actually going to click the little white box with the plus sign in it that will create a new paragraph style for you. I have a couple other ones, so it's going to be called paragraph 3, but I'm going to want to change it. So if I double click on it, I can change the title. And you can change the title to whatever it is that you'd like to change. In this, you can also kind of select any other style options you might want. So for instance, I selected Avenir a while ago, right in the beginning, and the font size, the leading, all of this I had already changed. But if I wanted to change that again, I could definitely do that here. Indents, tabs, this is where if you were to indent anything, this is where if you wanted an indent, it would You can determine where on the page that would be. You could also determine kind of if you were indenting, let's say in bulleted list, you can determine every time you hit tab and where that would go. And I'll show you what that looks like. Any other paragraph rules, borders, anything that you'd kind of want to um, save so that going forward it does that automatically every single time. You can definitely do that here. And then once you're done making all those adjustments, you can hit OK. And notice that now in my paragraph styles panel, it changed the name to main body copy. If I ever wanted to change it again, I would just need to double click. I can go in here, change all the things that I wanted to change, and then hit OK again. Something also to note is that if you're not sure of what it might look like, just hit preview, and that way anything that you decide to change, you can kind of get an understanding of what it might look like if you were to change it. And then once you're done with that, you hit OK. But if you didn't want to, if you made some changes you don't like and you kind of just want to revert back to what you did before, you could just hit cancel and it won't save any of the changes that you made to the overall paragraph style. So now that I have my paragraph styles created, if I were to, let's say, create a new page, and I'm going to bring open my preview, and I wanted to create more paragraphs. Insert, fill with, um, fill with placeholder text, sorry. I right-clicked, fill placeholder text. Now that I have what I want, I can select the whole box and then I can just hit main body copy on my paragraph styles and it'll automatically format based on the all the settings and things that I had already indicated when I first created it. This definitely makes your overall layout design a lot easier because now you don't have to go through each box and say, okay, here's how I formatted before. You could just click the paragraph styles and it'll automatically format it the way that you have saved it. So that's body copy. Those are just things that you can consider when you are designing, the things that you should consider, like fonts, no more than two, creating those paragraph styles so that overall it's just easier for you to navigate when you are creating different text boxes, especially when you're dealing with a lot of body copy. You know, if whether it's for a single page or multiple pages, you can make sure that regardless of how many pages and how many text boxes you have, you can be consistent, right? You can have unity, right? Hierarchy, alignment, unity, space, right? You can have unity throughout your design because of paragraph styles, because of how you are designing and laying out your body copy.